Welcome to day 18 of the Marvel Movie Marathon, and today we're getting Strange with Doctor Strange. Before this movie came out, all I knew about Doctor Strange was that he could do magic. He was like a wizard, and I just wanted this movie to be weird as possible. I just wanted to see things I've never seen before in a film, and for the most part, I got that. When Stephen Strange breaks his hands in this crazy ass car crash, he needs to go to Nepal to seek out the Ancient One so he can learn how to heal himself. But while learning the mystic arts, he finds out that the Ancient One's former student, Caecilius, has stolen some pages from this book, and he wants to unleash this dark force known as Dormammu. And Dormammu wants to, of course, take over the world. Stephen Strange is pretty much like an asshole. He's like Tony Stark dialed up to 11. He's arrogant, stubborn. At the beginning of this movie, he's just extremely unlikable. And I know that's part of his character, character arcs and all. But it's so hard to like this guy, especially the way he treats Christine, his ex-girlfriend. She's very nice in the movie. She's always helping him out in these dire situations, and she's just, she sees all this magic and she's like barely phased by it. She's a great person, and he treats her like crap at the beginning of this movie. But once he gets to Nepal and Kamataj and starts learning magic, that's when this movie really picks up. I described it to my ex as this is like Harry Potter, but in the Marvel universe. And it sort of is. He goes to Hogwarts, he takes classes, he reads books, and he learns the ancient art of spells. When I first saw this movie, I really enjoyed it because it was like so cool to finally see like real magic in the MCU. Like you saw a little bit in Thor, but this is like actual spell making and seeing different dimensions, and that's the biggest strength of this film is the set pieces and all the special effects. The part where Ancient One tells him to open his eye, and he's going through space and all this freaky stuff on screen. It's fantastic, and I was a little drunk when I first saw this, so it really like blew my mind. I was like, whoa, this is so cool. And then you got the mirror dimension where it's like the Matrix, and you can like run up walls, and you can mess with physics and have buildings topple in on each other. And it's like the world from Inception, and they have this great set piece where they're just running through New York and all these buildings are collapsing and they're falling, and it's really trippy stuff. But my favorite scene is the astral projection fight where Steven's spirit fights another guy's spirit, and he kills him by using the defibrillator. He holds his head and he makes him explode. All that stuff is fantastic, but to get to that part, you have to deal with lots and lots of exposition. And in a movie like this, it's to be understood. They're going to need to explain some things, obviously, but sometimes it does get bogged down, and it's like, all right, especially on rewatches where you already know how this stuff works. You have to sit through lots of exploratory scenes of explaining the mirror dimension, explaining how relics work, explaining the sling ring, and sitting through that stuff, on a rewatch is a little bit of a chore. But again, once the action scenes pop up, that's when things really start to get going. We also get introduced to the fifth Infinity Stone in this movie. It's the Time Stone, which he wears around his neck, and he learns how to manipulate time. In these really cool scene with an apple. And then at the end, Stephen Strange, he's not a fighter. He doesn't want to fight in this war. He's just kind of thrust into it. Like, he's literally telling them, like, I quit as soon as Caecilius attacks the temple. So, great timing on his part. But he realizes since, he used to be a surgeon and he can't save people with his hands anymore, this is the only way he can save them, through magic. Whew. So in the end of the movie, he uses his wits, not his fists. He uses his smarts to win the day, and he traps Dormammu in a time loop. Dormammu, I've come to bargain. This is a great scene, and it's a very original way to deal with one of these villains. Instead of, punching him until they're dead or whatever, he traps him in a time loop. Who knows how many times he got killed in that time loop. He might have been there for years for all we know. But it's a great ending. The one thing I wish they did explain, and you would expect them to explain, are the spells. They say they take energy from the other dimensions to create spells. But it's like, how do you do that? How do you take energy from the other dimensions? When they're doing the actual spells, it just looks like they're concentrating really hard and doing jazz hands. And I wish, that was the one thing I wish they explained a little more, because I love the world building in this film. I love learning about this, wizards and all this strange stuff. And I want to see more of it. That's why I think in the sequel it will be a much, much better film, because they've done most of the explaining already and they could just get to the good stuff. And I want to see Doctor Strange do some more weird stuff in weird dimensions. Wong is pretty cool. He's kind of like a foil to Doctor Strange. He doesn't laugh at any of his dumb jokes. And this movie has a lot of dumb jokes. It's borderline cringe here and there. Like the great moment where he receives his iconic cloak. It's kind of ruined by the cloak, because he's like running in one direction and the cloak is dragging him into another. So it almost ruins that moment. And then you have like name drops of pop singers. And most of the humor doesn't work, but there's one scene where Christine gets scared by a mop. And it's really effective, because she looks like she's terrified when this mop falls on the floor. That's the best comedic scene in this film. And then you got Baron Mordo, who's like Steven's teacher. And he gets butthurt at the end of the movie because they break the rules to save the world. He uses the time stone to reverse time and fix everything. And Baron's like, we're not supposed to do that. And then by the end of the movie, you see that he's turned to evil. He's stealing other sorcerers' powers. It's a really fast heel turn, to go from like, we shouldn't break the rules, to you stealing sorcerers' powers. Huge jump for the character, and I just don't buy it. He's a good actor, but I just didn't buy that he would turn evil so quickly. And then you got the villain, who's just Mads Mikkelsen with some eyeliner, and he does an okay job being a threat, but besides that, he doesn't leave much of an impact. Again, this movie is all about the spectacle. It's about the scenes where they're just like messing around with physics. You see these doors that lead to different parts of the world, and those are my favorite parts of the movie. And I wanted to see more of that. And Doctor Strange, he's not a likable character, but he is better in Infinity War. At the end of the film, we see a special guest arrive at the Sanctum Sanctorum. It's Thor. You guys remember Thor, right? Right? Well, if you don't, we're going to check out his third and final film in the Thor trilogy tomorrow on the Marvel Movie Marathon. Thank you for watching. Wow.